It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hi, welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupa Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, a country still under shock of Vinesh Phogat's announcement, retiring from wrestling, saying the sport bested her and she has no more courage, any more left in her. Of course, the appeal is still pending. But can Neeraj Chopra, the Olympic defending champion, provide a silver lining for his country by clinching the gold in javelin once again? All pressure on the 26-year-old. That's later today. Who are his biggest contenders and what challenges lie ahead? The Australian Olympic contingent has come into the news, but for all the wrong reasons. They would want one of their key members, hockey player Tom Craig, was arrested and kept in jail overnight for buying cocaine off the streets. What are the consequences of this brazen act? And to end on a lighter note, like we always aim to, what, or rather who, is the secret to USA women gymnast success at Paris? This special friend has been a beacon of hope and calm for Simone Biles and her teammates. More of this on the show, but first, a look at the headlines. Starting with news from the Olympics, China won its first Olympic gold in artistic swimming. The team was judged on a series of events like technical, free and acrobatics. The theme of China's routine was Light of Life, and their score was 996 points. They beat second-placed USA by a massive margin. 914 points is all they could get. In other news, Indian wrestler Antim Pangal and her entourage will be deported from Paris. This after Antim allowed her sister to enter the Olympic Village using Antim's accreditation details. Antim's sister was also detained but later released by the police. Following the incident, Antim's accreditation was also cancelled. The wrestler might face a 3-year suspension for indiscipline by the IOA, as the report suggests. The wrestler's Olympic campaign ended last evening when she lost 10-0 to Turkey's Yetgil Zanep in the women's 53 kg category. Over in tennis, 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from the US Open. The Spaniard has only played one Grand Slam this year, that's the French Open, where he lost in the first round to Alexander Zverev. Nadal recently played the Olympics. His best performance came in the doubles, where he reached quarterfinals alongside Carlos Alcaraz. Over in cricket, Sri Lanka won the final ODI against India, winning the series 2-0. This is the first time in 27 years that Sri Lanka has won an ODI series against India. They secured a 110-run victory in the third one-day at Colombo. Chasing 249 runs, India were bowled out for 138 in 26 overs. And wrapping up with chess, Russian player Amina Abakarova has been suspended by the Russian Federation after she tried to poison her opponent by smearing mercury on chess pieces before the game. Her opponent, Ume Ganath Osamanova, complained of nausea during the game. Security footage caught Abakarova in the act. The Russian is reportedly facing jail time for this offence. Do you believe in momentum of one event impacting another and then a wave? It's true in sport. That's the origin of a Mexican wave that spectators at a stadium managed to orchestrate. It takes one person to influence another, and then there is a frenzy. That's what many thought when Manu Bakar struck a medal in the very first weekend of the Games. That the floodgates would open and they would come in more. The second week of the Games has been anything but that for India. Yes, there has been a wave. It's a wave of fourth place finishes. India finishing fourth. Nothing is worse than finishing fourth at any medals event. It tells you how narrowly you missed out on a podium finish, and at the same time shows you how medalless you look. It's not the best place to be. In fact, yesterday in many ways encapsulated that feeling. Someone who was good for gold, who beat the biggest contender in her sport, a world number one, ended up getting disqualified by just 100 grams. Vinesh's name, despite making it to the final, will feature as the last in her event at the Paris Games. The announcement of her retirement, the final nail in the coffin of a very unfortunate series of events. That's the kind of week it's been for India. Near misses that have made the gap seem so much wider. Manu Baka, 25-meter pistol event, a fourth. Lakshya Sen, singles badminton, a fourth. The mixed skeet team, fourth. Arjun Babuta, 10-meter air rifle event, fourth. And last night, Mirabai Chanu was brave enough, came in courageous, but joined the number 4 list. India gripped with the curse of the number 4. Of course, certain coaches were quick to pull up the players for this show of performance, but for India still sitting at a tally of 3 medals.
I'm a little disappointed that we couldn't get even one medal from badminton. We were contenders. I won't say definite medalists, but we were contenders for three medals. So at least one I would have been happy. Of course, I'm personally disappointed. Generally, across all sports, the top 30 or 40, who had a chance of getting a medal, have been given whatever they wanted. They've never said no to, even if it was sometimes maybe even unreasonable demands, they've been met. So I think it's high time the players also need to take some responsibility.
But this has been a disappointing outing that has to be borne collectively by everyone involved, every single cog in the machinery. And then, of course, there's been some bad luck too. So the question is, can Neeraj Chopra bring that streak of medal lining to what has been an emotionally draining week for all Indians at the Games Village? He has to do what 40 additional air conditioners couldn't: cool the temperatures and bring some sense of calmness to a contingent that is grappling with near misses. So let's set this one up for you. First, Neeraj, the 26-year-old gold medalist from Tokyo Olympics, managed to start off his campaign sounding off a warning to the rest, with his season's best throw of 89.34 meters to qualify for the final. So who are his biggest contenders in the javelin final? First up has to be Jacob Valdech, the Chechen. He's the one who gave Neeraj the stiffest competition at Tokyo. The silver medalist, he's gunning for revenge. Ranked world number 1, Valdech has a personal best of 90.88 meters and a season best of 88.65. The 33-year-old qualified for the final with a single throw of 85.63 meters. Of course, next up, Anderson Peters from Grenada. He's currently world number 6. His personal best, a mammoth 93.07 meters. He came closest to Neeraj during the qualifying round with a throw of 88.63 meters. And he's one of the biggest rivals. He's been a world champion and has beaten Neeraj Chopra to the world title in 2022. Julian Weber from Germany. This German powerhouse has gone up against Neeraj many a times. A familiar face, but Neeraj has got the better of him at the 2023 World Championship, where Neeraj took gold and Weber had to settle for 4th. His personal best is 89.54 meters, and to qualify for the final, he threw 87.76 meters. And I have to round this off, of course, with Neeraj's biggest foe turned friend. Arshad Nadeem from Pakistan, one of the most heartwarming and well-contested India-Pakistan rivalries that we've seen in recent times. Though Nadeem finished 5th in Tokyo and he doesn't have a world rank, Nadeem comes into this final with a personal best of 90.18 meters, and the 27-year-old registered his season's best of 86.59 to make it to the final. The two are, of course, friends of the field, and Nadeem is someone Neeraj has shared some great battles with, particularly at the Asian and Commonwealth Games. Now, there are, of course, few others who can throw a surprise here and there to upset the apple cart, as all it takes is one solid good throw. Could that be Kenya's Julius Yigo? But this will be an exciting final nevertheless, and one that will be keenly watched and followed the world over. 26-year-old Neeraj Chopra this time won't just have to prepare for the challenges in the field, but the pressure to deliver a gold. The biggest hope now rests on him. Will he succeed in giving India another moment to smile in what has been an otherwise mixed week? A sportsperson can combat the most adverse conditions, whether it's scorching heat, challenging venue, freezing temperatures. They train themselves to physically fight these conditions. An Olympics event demands all of this and more. Adversaries, of course, on the field and one off it. And yes, Paris put the mental fortitude of many to test. From the food on offer to uncomfortable facilities in the rooms, lack of air conditioning, to swimming in a polluted river. And then, of course, the mental fatigue owing to the various refereeing blunders that had sprung up. It's not been an easy ride for athletes at the Paris Olympics, but many have fought it all and taken triumph alongside, like Imane Khalif, Lin Yu Ting, battling the gender debate to now competing for gold in their respective categories. Many have fought demons of the past, like Simone Biles, putting behind her sexual abuse and mental trauma to shine at the biggest stage, where nerves, the pressure and the expectations can get to you. But amid these inspirational stories comes one that is going to have some repercussions. In a shocking incident, Australian hockey player Tom Craig was caught trying to buy cocaine off the streets of Paris. When the cops busted him, the player tried to run but was caught, arrested and spent a night in Paris jail. It's reported that Craig was in possession of 1 gram of cocaine at the time he was arrested. But here's the other shocker. The dealer who supplied the drug to the hockey player is just 17 years old. He was arrested too. The Australian authorities were notified. The judge let Craig off with a warning, and the Olympic silver medalist was released without charges. After he was released, Craig gave a statement saying he was sorry for what he'd done.
I'd firstly like to apologise for what has occurred over the past 24 hours. I made a terrible mistake, and I take full responsibility for my actions. My actions are my own and by no way reflect the values of my family, my teammates, my friends, my sport, and the Australian Olympic team. I've embarrassed you all, and I'm truly sorry.
Craig says this has nothing to do with the Australian Olympic team or his family, but it clearly affects them too, because instead of focusing on Australia's Olympics campaign, everyone is talking about an athlete being jailed for buying cocaine. Australian hockey team has been knocked out of the Olympics. They lost to Netherlands in the quarterfinal. They didn't have any more matches to play. So, of course, players are bound to relax, unwind and let their hair down, as they should. Probably not getting arrested for buying cocaine. An episode that has left the entire contingent upset and resulted in Craig being sent away.
I would rather be here talking about the 3 gold medals that we have won today, but here we are. It's disappointing because what this does is it takes away from the narrative and the hard work of all the athletes in the team thus far. Tom will lose all of his remaining Olympic privileges. He has already moved out of the Olympic Village, and as it was my understanding, he was not attending the closing ceremony. If he was, he would not be able to attend.
Australia's chef de mission Anam rightly points out, instead of talking about their 3 gold medals, she had to address an unpleasant matter. She also said Tom Craig is a good person who made a bad decision, and that decision has consequences. Now, I guess this story acts as a reminder to every athlete, most of whom overcome hardships, lack of financial support, poverty, the most cruel conditions, to end up finally playing for their countries and win laurels. And to think all of that can get erased with one mindless act. Tom Craig is an Olympic medalist, someone who's played more than 100 games for his country. Clearly, he forgot how far he'd come to have committed such an act, and in doing so, has failed to be the role model that the world needs. The US Olympic contingent is on top of the leaderboard at the Games, and there are medals flying in from almost every event a US athlete takes part in. And one such sport has been gymnastics. The US team won a total of 10 medals in the sport, which included 3 golds. And it's the women who've contributed 8 of those medals. Buoyed by Simone Biles, the women's gymnastics team has been extraordinary. But what has been the secret to their success? To them performing the way they have. There might just be 5 women gymnasts representing USA on paper, but there is a 6th member who's played a key role in their success on the mat. That member is a dog. No, not Snoop Dogg, though he has assumed the role of USA's cheerleader, but a 4-legged golden retriever who's been with them through thick and thin. Take a look.
Snoop Dogg may have been Team USA's biggest cheerleader at the Paris Olympics, and he's doing a great job of winning fans over with his funny and witty appearances at many events. But is he winning medals for Team USA? Nope, but a 4-legged dog is. Meet the furry factor who has been critical to Team USA's medal haul in the women's gymnastics, a golden retriever called Beacon. And he's sure been the beacon of hope for this much, a dashing personality with a golden fluffy coat. eyes so deep that it can hold an entire world, and cute enough to make anyone smile. And I mean anyone. He's even got an official name tag that reads the goodest boy. Beacon is a 4-year-old dog who has been with the team for a long while. So what does he do for the women's gymnastics team? We haven't seen him spin and do a floor routine, but it's safe to say Beacon is the captain of the ship, who has been a huge support system to the main cast. He has been assigned a major task: to give the women's gymnastics team calm company during the training session and the competitions leading up to the games. That's right, Beacon is a therapy dog. He has been part of the US team for more than a year now. Beacon can sense if people around him are stressed and knows how to calm them. In events like the Olympics, where the competition is so intense and athletes have immense pressure, Beacon is enough to keep them in the best of spirits. No wonder the USA women's gymnastics team looks so relieved and relaxed on the mat. The women's team bagged 8 medals at the Games, out of which 3 were gold, which helped establish them as the best unit in the Paris Olympics. And they have Beacon to thank to have played a key role in their success. But Beacon represents a larger message that Team USA is sending out to the rest of the teams, that physical fitness alone is not the priority. Mental well-being is equally essential. Beacon's contribution might have been behind the scenes, but this furry friend has made the loudest of noises even in his absence at the Games.
Time for last serve. The Olympics is a stage for the best athletes the world over, and needless to say, that also brings the best fans from the world over. Like this German triathlete, Niels Rickameyer has made it to Paris to watch the Games in the world's fastest bike camper van. Take a look.
So first I was just joking around. I'm gonna build a bike camper like 2015 in college, and then I started to do world bike trips after I was told I have a heart disease and couldn't do any more sport. But it was a misdiagnosis, so I was thankful afterwards and tried to just do the things that I otherwise would put off, and started doing the bike trip.
And of course, news coming in from Paris here, right? This moment is that India has managed to seal its 4th medal at the Paris Games. They've won their 4th bronze as well. Yes, the colour is the same, but it's been quite the victory. A perfect farewell for PR Sreejesh. Indian hockey notching up the 4th medal for India, winning bronze, beating Spain 2-1. That's just concluded just a while back. And in fact, if you could look at the medals tally in just a bit, you will know that that's the latest that India has achieved, their 4th medal. And of course, those 2 goals during the course of the game were scored by Harmanpreet, and both coming off penalty corners. You know, you always talk about India being under pressure when it comes to penalty corners. They always fail to convert those penalty corners. That's always been the criticism when you speak about Indian hockey. But this is a moment they will cherish. The visuals that we're seeing right now over there, right from Paris, is that all the players have gathered around PR Sreejesh, who's in tears. He's on the floor. They're all in an emotional moment. It's been an emotional ride for all of them. You remember that quarter-final match? That was the most important game. That was a game that could have gone either way. They had a very tough contest playing Great Britain. They were down to 10 man because they had one of their key defenders being red carded. The first ever instance of a red card happening at the Games, and only the 4th in 11 years. So it was quite a setback that India had to contend with, and they managed to turn that around and get to the semi-finals. The semi-final was heartbreaking. They lost to Germany, but it's been quite a ride. And in fact, if I just have to turn back to look at all the celebrations that are going, I have to bring you those pictures. It's of course a very dejected Spain team. They did give India a tough fight and they are in tears, but what an emotional moment this is for India. Yes, they did have a lot of close finishes, a lot of 4th place finishes through this week, but it's been an emotional ride for this hockey team, especially PR Sreejesh, who said this would be his last. In fact, the last edition at Tokyo is where they also clinched bronze. So in some sense, they have defended that bronze medal that they won in Tokyo. And this is the first time that they have won 2 consecutive medals in hockey in a while. There was a huge slump that Indian hockey had gone through. The glory days, of course, if you look at the medals tally of India at a particular sporting discipline in the Olympics, hockey sits right on top. They've won 12, and this is the 13th. 13 medals in a sporting discipline shows dominance. But there was a huge period when there was a slump, and hockey wasn't really what it used to be. I mean, this was not the team that had won 8 gold medals in a sporting discipline. And that's turned around now. Another contributing factor, one key factor who's contributed to this dominant Indian team that we see at this point, of course, is their coach, Craig Fulton. You saw how he was celebrating those moments there, just as tense as everyone else, but he was on the sidelines. In fact, one of the key things he always kept reminding this bunch through this tournament, there would be a time when the pressure would be immense, but you have to band together. You have to be together to get over the line, because sometimes the pressure can get to you, which is exactly what happened this time as well. Spain did put them on the back foot because they were the first to get the scoreboard sticking. They were the first to put a goal on board and start things off. So the pressure was immediately on India. But right from the second quarter, somewhere on the mid-time of the second quarter, you saw a reinvigorated Indian side come out, trying to push a little more chances, trying to force Spain to give them more chances, and you had a lot of these penalty corners then materializing. And of course, Harmanpreet, you have to mention the captain here, leading from the front. He was the one who scored twice, both of those from penalty corners, very sharp, and held a calm head there, even as things were getting a little nervous around him. Especially this week. It's not been a very pretty week for India with a lot of near misses. We spoke about all of this just some minutes back. But yes, in a week where you've had a lot of close shaves, a bit of bad luck too, and a lot of questions being raised on the Indian athletes, it's nice to see one other medal coming in. And of course, a medal that was guaranteed. This was something they were coming in as favorites for a medal. They would have liked this to be another color. That semi-final against Germany, a very close loss, 3-2. They would have been fighting for gold. That's what Sreejesh would say. They are happy nevertheless, but this has been quite a moment for Indian hockey. If you speak about the captain and the coach being key here, you also have to speak of all the other members who've sort of rallied around each other to come and materialize this particular moment. When we speak about a team doing something for an individual, you saw that happening every single time. The team obviously wanted this for themselves, for the country, and of course PR Sreejesh, who was very, very resolute even in the last few moments of this particular match, where he saved a couple of penalty corners, even in the dying moments of this game. One of the victories that will stand as a landmark moment in Indian hockey history would have to be the win over Australia in the group stages, a very first time that an Indian hockey side was beating Australia in 52 years. A seminal moment, again, one that marks and somewhat becomes the highlight of this bronze medal that they've won. Great Britain win would be another landmark moment for them. They had a few close encounters in that group stage, but the momentum kept building. It was a small speed bump there against Germany, but they somehow brought it all together to result in this historic moment. And of course, this is just nicely set it up for the rest of the Indian contingent. They wanted something to smile about. They needed a particular moment after a week, and especially the last 48 hours, which saw a euphoric Vinesh Fogart crumble and ultimately announce her retirement. In those moments, you know how one particular moment always has a ripple effect on the entire contingent. It affects everybody, and like we spoke to many of the athletes, the coaches, the support system, everyone who was present at Paris, everyone talks about how they were all heartbroken for Vinesh, and somehow they wanted a moment to celebrate, to make all of that go away. And this seems to be that moment. Of course, none of the spectators at the stadium even moving an inch. They're all on their feet applauding this performance. You can see tears everywhere, not just on the side that has lost, but also on the Indian players. A lot of the spectators capturing this moment on their phones. It is a very, very nostalgic and emotional moment for this Indian contingent, and to think that they have somehow probably shifted the momentum slightly, ever so slightly, along the way when you have a few other medal rounds coming up. particularly Neeraj Chopra, who will take center stage later. And this sort of a win does something magical for the rest of the contingent. And you have to particularly speak of all these players. You know, you see them applauding the spectators who've been behind them right there, time, every day, even as they stumbled, even as they drew, and even in those historic and magical moments that they created. It's great to see them all soaking it in. Craig Fulton there celebrating with his team. It's definitely one of the most poignant memories and moments that you would see. You know, if you talk about hockey and Olympics, one moment and one image that stays in mind is that of PR Sreejesh jumping up and sitting on top of that goal post. Well, he's not doing any of those acrobatics here just yet, but he's definitely soaking this up, because this is definitely one way to say goodbye and farewell to a sport that he has been a pillar of, a sport that will be synonymous with his contributions and what he has brought to the game. You're seeing a lot of the players, of course, we are witnessing a lot of the players going up to the spectators, signing and autographs, taking photos with them, a lot of them carrying the flag around. Of course, this is what they do it for. They do it for that Indian country, the country that they have come to represent and play for. So it's been quite a hard-fought roller coaster ride for this team as well, for this unit too, and especially after they even qualified for the Olympics. The last few months weren't really a good ride. They had a few up and down results coming into the Olympics. They had a mixed bag of sorts, but really this has been special. If you look at the medals tally as well, if that is with us, we'll of course bring that up to you as well to see that India is now 1 medal extra. 4 medals is what they are going to be sitting with right now. United States, of course, at the top there with 27 goals, just inching ahead of China. That's a huge battle that's underplaying there, that's playing out there at Paris. And of course, predictable lineup there after Australia, France, Great Britain, South Korea. Some very memorable moments for Japan as well, clinching some memorable gold medals there in gymnastics and swimming. And of course, Italy and Netherlands, 69th position. And India, of course, in the 69th place with 4 medals. A lot of the players have now come up to the stand to congratulate and of course the pictures that you're seeing right now is from Sreejesh's house. Everyone celebrating this moment. It has been special for the families of all these players who have been away from home for so many months, practicing, even getting into the camps and preparing for an Olympics that is so challenging for every athlete, especially for those who miss out on a medal and they know that this has to be just their last chance. For many, it is another long wait for 4 years. But what this has done is provided a bit of respite in an otherwise mixed week that India has had, and just to see the families rejoicing and taking their time to celebrate. And of course, they're accosted by a horde of media that's already gathered there to soak in the celebrations. But these are pictures that you will remember for a while of India making it to a bronze and getting on that podium for a 4th time. So that's the latest that we're getting in our coverage here. Mission Paris, India clinching its 4th medal at Paris Olympics, and that has come from hockey. A perfect farewell for PR Sreejesh, their iconic and wall of a goalkeeper. And what a way to sign off this campaign for both Craig Fulton and Harmanpreet Singh led side. 4th medal, a 4th bronze. That wraps up this particular segment here from us, but keep following Firstpost for all our coverage of India and of course the world at Paris Olympics.